Manifestation of the Kriya. One auspicious evening, sometimes during the autumn session of 2009, 2 years after my initiation into Siddha Mahayoga through Shaktipat, the Kriya finally started manifesting into my body. I was sitting cross-legged on the floor in front of the image of a celestial female form on a meditation seat and was repeating my mantra. My eyes were closed and my attention was focused in the mind space on the image of the celestial female form I had kept in front of me. Readers are requested to pardon me for not giving out the details of the mantra and the corresponding goddess. These details have not been written deliberately since they were meant to serve a specific purpose only in my case. Moreover, they cannot be revealed to any third person. In any case, they are of no use either to any practitioner of yoga or to any general reader. The mantra simply will not work for anyone unless it is given to them by a guru, along with the required initiation. All of a sudden, I started to experience some sort of strong sexual urge developing in my body. With my attention focused on the image of the celestial female form with utmost reverence and despair, I began to enter a panic state. Very soon, the sexual urge fully bloomed in spite of tremendous effort to retain it mentally. Now the actual shock, a feeling of indescribable and unbearable bliss started developing in the region between my anus and genitals. By this point, I had stopped repeating the mantra. I was stricken by panic. I felt as if a sin was being forced upon me by my mind. I was unable to have any control whatsoever over the reaction being manifested near the genetical region. I was unable to stop experiencing the joy and bliss that kept arising in waves. I continued to sit there for some more time. The joy and bliss I felt would be so intense at times that it would become extremely unbearable. It is hard for me to put the exact experience into words. The sensations I felt were akin to experiencing sexual climax, although not exactly to the same degree. However, the sensations do not arise out of the sexual organ, although swelling to the organ does take place, followed by ejaculation of the semen by a drop or two. The sensations were pinpointed in the center between the anus and genitals. The bliss generated was not continuous. It was in the form of medium to long bursts. The burst of pleasure or joy was experienced from this specific point. The main highlight of the experience was that it started becoming unbearable as the burst of energy was relieved and slowly faded away. After a few seconds, another burst of energy was released. The bliss spread in a circular wave-like manner to the neighboring areas each time. At least that is what the experience of it was like. After 15 to 20 minutes, although I cannot remember precisely, the reaction started to subside and I immediately picked up my mobile phone and rang up my guru. My guru confirmed the bliss generated was not continuous. It was in a form of medium to long bursts. The burst of pleasure or joy was experienced from a specific point. The main highlight of the experience was that it started becoming unbearable as a burst of energy was released and slowly faded away. After a few seconds, another burst of energy was released. The bliss spread in a circular wave-like manner to the neighboring areas each time. At least that is what the experience of it was like. After 15 to 20 minutes, although I cannot remember precisely, the reaction started to subside and I immediately picked up my mobile phone and rang up my guru. My guru confirmed that the Kriya had started to manifest and further added that there was no reason to panic. He advised me not to make any effort mentally to stop the reactions while they were in the process of manifestation. This is how the process of purifying the mind of all sensual impressions starts. the very supreme primordial cosmic energy awakes from its dormant state and goes into the reverse mode, causing the involution or destruction of the psychic of a person. Here the reader is requested to briefly recall my description of the cerebrospinal system in one of my chapters. The invisible structure of the cerebrospinal system with various energy centers gets activated fully after the Kundalini energy is activated in the first energy center. As a result, the effect is felt by every nook and corner of the body, including the mind. As per yoga texts, the human body is basically a projection of the mind. Either the subtle body nerves, called nadis as per yoga texts, are claimed to impact the mind, or the mind itself is claimed to impact the nerves in the body. The entire process can also occur simultaneously. It also depends on the structure of the mind and how the primordial energy wants to sort it out, so that it is cleaned of all sensual impressions recorded in it over millions of births. I am using the word millions to illustrate the subject. No one can say how many past lives one has undergone. These sort of experiences continued thereafter. Every day I would sit on the floor to practice repeating my mantra, and similar reactions would manifest in my body. This continued for 3 to 4 months. Since the manifestation process of the Kriya was very pleasurable, I used to practice the repetition of my mantra with very keen interest every day. As a result, I was making rapid progress in yoga during the initial weeks following the aftermath of the awakening of Kundalini energy in my body. In January 2010, I moved to a place near the famous energy center known as Vaishno Devi in the Himalayan foothills. There, I continually practicing my meditation as usual, but found that a different type of Kriya had started to manifest. Before narrating these experiences, I would like to familiarize the readers with another mind-boggling and irrational experience I had undergone, which has taken place several years before. I was initiated into the Siddha Mahayoga system along with this experience. There have been many other experiences which I will elaborate on later in this book. However, I cannot explain why these experiences occurred before I was initiated into this yoga system. It is possible that I might have been initiated into this yoga system, or I might have practiced some other yoga system in my past lives. I cannot say this for sure, and I humbly leave it to my guru to ascertain. I know nothing of my past life, but perhaps what I had experienced had been carried over from a previous life. I cannot think of any other rational explanation from the mind-boggling phenomena I experienced. I was about 30 or 31 years of age when this phenomena started manifesting in my life. I was living in a remote jungles of the Himalayan range by virtue of my profession. One day, I was sitting in a contemplative mode and closed my eyes. I found myself starting into the black mind space. All of a sudden, I started to observe some sort of movement in this darkness. The vision was akin to the movement of smoky clouds in the sky. Initially, I was scared when I started observing this phenomena. However, I continued to sit there and observe the phenomena for some time until my eyes started aching. I again experienced with the same phenomena in the evening with similar results. In the subsequent days, I experienced several other different types of visions of the same nature. The smoky clouds appeared in numerous shapes and sizes. This vision of moving clouds in the sky continued in my life for years thereafter. However, new visions also started to appear. One day, I was lying on my bed and had just woken up from sleep. My eyes were open and I was lying on my left side. My room was completely dark. All of a sudden, I had a vision of my own mirror image. The image was lying down a few yards away from my bed in the same posture and was looking at me. However, the image was naked and appeared slightly disfigured. The vision lasted just for a few seconds. I was scared to death. After this experience, I started going to bed with the lights on in my roof. The next prominent vision I had after this was of a female face and a pair of eyes. This vision again lasted for several years. Every time I used to close my eyes and try to peek into the mind space, this vision of a female face used to appear. I could never recognize the face, and sometimes it used to be in the disfigured state. Other than the above two initial visions, I observed numerous types of other visions which I will subsequently elaborate on in this book. I will now narrate the manifestation of the Kriya which I wanted to describe earlier. One day, I was sitting cross-legged as usual and meditating. I started seeing the image of an inverted triangular form in mind space. It appeared to be pink in color. As my attention was focused on the form, it soon started manifesting as a female genital organ covered with an undergarment. Here I would like to remind the readers that an inverted triangle is basically a symbol of the energy associated with the female genital organ as per the text of the Shaktas or energy worshippers in India. For any practitioner, many obstacles arise during the practice of yoga. Generally, these obstacles pertain to sex-related ideas, money, and of course, other worldly issues like ethics and sins, etc. The supreme primordial energy will ensure that all this dust is wiped out by manifesting a variety of reactions based upon the kind of character which the practitioner has managed to accumulate. On another day, I was sitting cross-legged and meditating on a bed. After an hour or so, the form of a celestial female started appearing in my mind space. It appeared as if the form was coming closer towards my face. Mentally, I tried to drive away from her form. Now, this is against the principle of practice in the order of Shaktipat. The Kriya must not be recited or stopped by any voluntary effort. I had violated this principle by mentally resisting the celestial female form. As a consequence, the celestial female form disappeared from my mind space. However, this was followed by the appearance of strange snake-like creatures which were coming closer towards my face to bite. This time, I somehow managed to hold on despite several mental discomfort. This state lasted for a few minutes, and thereafter the celestial female form appeared once again. This time I simply held on as a mute spectator as the celestial form came closer. One part of my mind was trying to encourage me to allow the Kriya to operate in my mind space, and another part of my mind was reminding me that it was a sin of the highest order to allow the Kriya into the mind space. Thus, my mind was being torn apart from two extremes. I was trending on a very thin line between being a saint and a sinner. The distinction between grace and sin was fast becoming blurred. What I was experiencing was the clearing of all sensual impressions by the supreme force, and I simply watched as a witness as the Kriya unfolded. When a baby tries to learn to walk, it needs to support a wheel walker. Once the baby has learned to walk, the wheel walker becomes a hindrance to further progress. The baby cannot learn to run unless it leaves the wheeler walk. It's the same with all religious systems, philosophies, and doctrines. A human being can turn to all of these sources on the path of awakening the Tormat, Kundalini energy seated at the base of spine into the body. However, once the purpose has been achieved, all the temples, gods, goddesses, etc. are gone in the tribe. Let me further elaborate on this mind-boggling phenomena. Every person in this world has a unique structured mind. Based on the unique character of a person, the Supreme Divinity showers blessing in a unique form as well. If a person has the habit of accumulating wealth, when the divinity showers its blessing, it will manifest by removing all the wealth from a person's life. As per ancient Sanskrit texts, this is a special favor from the Almighty, especially for those people who were on the path of accumulating a lot of wealth. Hence, I would like to inform readers that pursuing wealth is also a form in which the Almighty is approached as per the Sanskrit text. Next, I would like to inform the readers of a small interesting story from ancient texts to further illustrate this point. There was a Sanskrit scholar who used to be very religious, but he was proud of his knowledge of all the scriptures. One day, when this gentleman entered a temple, to his shock and utter disbelief, he found an old man sleeping on the floor inside the temple with his legs kept and an idol of God. In the fit of rage, he went and shook him up. The old man simply said that he could not see due to a defeat in his eyes, and further requested the scholar to help him in removing his legs and place them somewhere else, clear of any divine idol. To his shock and surprise, the scholar found the idols of the divine form springing up everywhere. In whichever direction he tried to place the legs of an old man, the divinity showered divine blessings on the scholar by arranging for him to meet this old man who worshipped to be in such a highly advanced state of yoga that he could humble the Sanskrit scholar in a trice without any effort. Thus the mind is drastically transformed when incidents of this nature happens to a practitioner of yoga. Something will happen based on the kind of character which the person has managed to accumulate. If a practitioner of yoga is not inclined, even after such incident, to leave the gods and goddesses, then further progress may not take place. The mind will not be elevated to higher platforms. Gods and goddesses will become a hindrance to progress. Temples and religious places will become chains to the freedom of the eternal spirit. What I mean to say is that worship of God in a particular form must eventually come to an end. The mind must be drawn towards the formless divinity, which is all-pervading and not restricted to the confines of a temple. Here I would like to inform all the readers that the actual efforts of Kriya upon the mind and how the transformation is brought about depends upon the unique character of the practitioner. Hence, readers are requested to pardon me for deliberately not elaborating on the Kriya process. However, it is sufficient if the reader can understand that certain events can have a profound mental or physical impact, that a transformation of a mind happens in a flash. Reactions or incidents of this nature, like the ones which were described in earlier paragraphs, are ensured by all-knowing supreme cosmic energy, so as to drastically alter the practitioner's state of mind. I had later explained that Kriya to my guru in detail. My guru had simply said that some practitioners do rapidly rise through this state spiritually, but to be careful to not fall down from this high platform. With this one session of meditation, my life had taken a total turn. I generally stopped going to temples, at least voluntarily, from this stage onwards. My ideas, my beliefs, my customs, my traditions were all shed off in one session of meditation. The doctrines, dogmas, philosophies that I had accumulated in my mind were all wiped out in this one session of meditation. I lost interest in reading any scriptures and was generally withdrawn from performing physical and mental religious actions. Never could I imagine in my dreams that even the divinity could be so cruel at times in the process of self-realization. Salutations to the all-knowing supreme cosmic power, for it knows best how to remove the dirt accumulated in the mind in a flash. Salutations to my guru, whose very nature is to drive away the darkness from mind, so that the eternal light of the spirit, embedded in the deep recess of the heart of every human being, can shine. My life has never been the same after this experience.